minimum viable product. When we say MVP, you're creating a market viable product. So there's no such thing as trying to figure out product market fit. You have product market fit from the very beginning because you built it the correct way.
All right, this is another episode of the Form Your Impact podcast. My guest today is Chris Joyce from Gusher. Chris, how are you doing today?
I am doing perfect today, Michael. How are you doing?
I am excited to be talking to you. I know we were introduced a long time ago and we probably lost touch. So for me and everybody else that don't know, who is Chris Joyce and what is Gusher?
Well, sure. My background is I founded 24 companies in almost every damn industry. My physical products have been sold in 11,000 stores across the world. I've got users of my tech products in 148 countries across the globe. And Gusher is my newest venture. It's a platform to launch companies without the need for money, without the need for investors.
Very interesting. So maybe you can expand upon that.
Sure.
Who is Gusher for? And when you say without the need for money or investment, how does that work?
Sure. Well, people apply to join companies, to join your startup in exchange for performance-based equity. So what I typically say to founders is, what would you do if you had $1 million or $2 million in the bank account right this second, and then Gusher that, because we do it all day, every day. Everything from B2B, B2C, B2B2C, everything in between, from consumer goods, manufacturing, SaaS, fintech, AR, VR, AI, gaming, medical devices, prop tech, you name it, we've got it. And more importantly, we've got greater than an 80% success rate where these companies become either self-sustaining and or attract larger scale capital, and that's unbeatable.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So it sounds like across a number of industries, like how do founders usually discover you, or how do you get in touch with them?
Well, we've kind of stayed below the radar, but we get most of our companies from referrals. A lot of venture capitalists send them our way. A lot of founders that are already on Gusher send them our way. We get a tremendous amount of referral flow, and that's really the main way that we go ahead and get deal flow.
And so I think there's one problem that I always see out in the world, and it's usually like someone has a certain idea and then a skill set, and they're looking for someone else to fill the skill set. So Sure. Is that kind of like part of what you're trying to address, is that gap of finding a co-founder? I think that's part of it. Right?
It's even a little bit more than that. So the way that many people have been taught almost in a way to start a company is, okay, you go ahead and maybe find a co-founder or a technical co-founder, and then you start your company that way and you're off to the races. But we kind of view it differently. We think that really having a complete team from the very beginning results in a fundamentally different company that's created. So instead of just thinking, okay, well, I need a technical co-founder if you're creating a SaaS company or something like that, you know, the human element, the marketing element, the sales element is extremely important. So we think, okay, well, you bring a chief marketing officer into your company, you bring a creative director. Yes, you bring the UI, UX, the front end, back end, et cetera, a chief technology officer, but you also bring that chief financial officer from the beginning, the business development from the very beginning. And what that does is, instead of creating a minimum viable product, when we say MVP, you're creating a market viable product. So there's no such thing as trying to figure out product market fit. You have product market fit from the very beginning because you built it the correct way.
And that's because you have the right team, you're saying?
Absolutely. You have 100% the right team. And that's what they're to do from the beginning, is create that product, create that company the right way.
So maybe what are some of the spaces or the companies that you're excited about that you've come in contact with recently?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we've had everything from very standard consumer goods companies. So one of our companies is a not technical company, but let's say, standard, hey, duke them out in terms of consumer goods. But when you start talking about dog food, well, dog food's a very capital intensive market to crack. And so we have a company called Howl. They started with nothing. Literally a year later, they're worth more than 10 million. They're growing 30% month over month. They just got a very big retailer. That's the announcement is going to be next week. And those are the types of companies that you can form. On other sides, we have everything from SaaS platforms to AI companies, AR, VR, you name it, that are on the cutting edge, creating these neat new industries that people are interested in. That seems to be a lot of growth. So everything from, I don't like to say Neanderthal companies, but almost in a way, companies that have been around forever, and they're reinventing it, to really cutting edge. Everything from medical devices, to, as I said, different types of SaaS platforms in all different industries, all different verticals.
That's amazing. And then what has your experience been like, after they go through and they kind of form the right team and get some of that market fit? What are they going from next? Are they just out in the world selling? Are they going the VC angel route? Are they going kind of crowdfunding? I'm curious to see.
Sure. Well, we've got a rule, okay? And the rule is good deal first, money second. And I'll say it again, good deal first, money second. So meaning that the point, and you know this, the chances of a company really going out there and getting funding right from the very beginning based upon just an idea is extremely rare. I mean, it's very, very rare, or the amount is so low that it's a question as to whether or not they can do with it. So we always try to go ahead and instill in our founders that they have to find that gold vein first, that then you can go ahead and mine it out of the ground. So the money, whenever they bring it in, isn't to go ahead and do market testing. It isn't to go ahead and try to go ahead and create your voice and figure out what the marketing is. What it should be is for spending, you put that money out there, you know what the return is, and you're able to scale it in terms of utilizing those funds for that. So, the companies in the beginning stages that we're looking at are really going ahead, they're getting the traction, they've already got market fit, they go through Gusher, and they set a standard to become self-sustaining from the very beginning, literally from the beginning. And when you say, hey, we're here to go ahead and generate revenue almost from the beginning, it changes the way that you view the development of the company and the steps that you end up taking. And it's the way that we used to create companies many years ago, but it kind of shifted recently.
Yeah, certainly there's been, I guess with just the volume of capital out there and, kind of methodologies like blitz scaling has definitely changed, but it feels like you're more aligned with, something that's going to be interesting because I think we've seen all these, VC stats seem to be down about 50%.
Gargantuan.
We're entering a tough market. So, and yet people are being put on the street. So I think your model is really interesting, where if people are going to be out there and they're not going to have access to those funds necessarily. There's going to be a lot of companies created the next 2 years.
Yeah, and we think that literally there's another revolution going on of entrepreneurship for this next stage that really we've only seen and scratched the surface of it. We tend to think that almost in a way, people are going to be their own VCs. People want to have a piece of whatever they create now. They don't just want to work for somebody, they want an impact. And many times that's an impact with something that they're part of or that they're starting themselves because they can fundamentally do it better than what the other people are doing. So why not? Money is not a barrier to entry anymore. It's not a reason to not start a company because there are other ways of doing it.
That makes total sense. And I guess the barrier to entry to creating stuff is no longer as big as it used to be. Like you can pretty inexpensively build stuff or launch stuff. So that makes sense to me.
Absolutely.
If you could offer founders only one piece of advice, what would that be?
Only one. And it's the most important piece of advice. And it's something simple. It's not something new, but I think it's absolutely required. And that is number one, just never give up. Never give up. Because if you never give up, eventually, if you iterate as you're going through the process, you will reach wherever it is that you want to reach. The only person that can stop the roller coaster of awesomeness is you. So you just never stop it. You never give up, and you will get there.
I love it. That is great advice. What has the role of partnerships and or community been in your success so far with Gusher or in your career?
Sure. I think community is a requisite to almost any business, especially now. In the past, you could go ahead and start a business. You could be kind of isolated from really, in a way, even your customers. But right now, you just can't do that. I mean, community is at its core fundamental to business creation and business growth. Otherwise, you're dealing in a commodity type of business that is a race to the bottom. So community is absolutely 100% required. In terms of importance, I rate it up there with you should be building community from the time that you ideate your company. It should be something that should be part of your DNA. It is almost in a way more important than the technical solution to whatever you're creating, because that community can actually be used to actually give input on your product, to help with the development, to help with the creation. People like to see the sausage being made. So I think that community is an absolute requisite when it comes to business creation from the start, not as an afterthought, from the start.
That makes sense to us. And that's kind of, a central theme, which is why we ask it, form your own pack. And
Absolutely.
as I also mentioned to you before that we recently launched Intros by Founders Pack. So I do want to invite you. I'm going to I'd like to include you in that if you get a chance. Join Intros. It's basically automated introductions every week to other founders and investors, and anyone in the Gusher community too. Maybe we can figure out a way to do that as well. We'd love to have them.
Okay.
What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Very easy. Just go to Gusher.co. I'm very easily found. You can always reach me there, or you can always reach out to someplace like on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. It doesn't matter. But LinkedIn, I'm pretty easily found also. But you can get me always on Gusher, Gusher.co.
Awesome. We will include those links in the show notes. So the final thing is, and first of all, I want to acknowledge you for the work that you're doing. I really like your approach to helping founders. And second is, as you know, when we have interesting people on the podcast, we like you to nominate other interesting people to be future guests of the Form Your Own Pack podcast. So who would you, Chris Joyce, like to nominate as a future guest?
Well, at the front of the line, I would nominate Colin Buckley, all right, with Happy Howl. All right. That company has done phenomenal things and they're really growing rapidly. He'd be a really great person to speak to. Very interesting story. And I don't want to tell it for him. Very interesting story.
Awesome. All right. So Colin Buckley, you've been nominated as a future guest. We will accept that and we look forward to that introduction. Chris, thank you so much for connecting today. I look forward to talking to you in the future.
My pleasure. Had a great time.